Close your eyes for a moment, and imagine yourself as a weary traveler nearly 150 years ago. You have left your home behind, your mother's final embrace, your father's tearful eyes, the streets where you spent your childhood. Everything is now in the past. You don't know whether life or death awaits you ahead. There is only one hope, that beyond the vast ocean lies a land where you can finally find dignity, peace, and freedom. For weeks, you have been sailing aboard a small ship. Every night, violent storms shake not only the vessel but your dreams as well. Children cry from hunger, mothers silently wipe away their tears, and elderly people pray. "Oh God, let us see our destination just once." Then one morning, the first rays of sunlight spread across the sea. The thick fog slowly begins to fade, and suddenly, a gigantic figure appears on the distant horizon. A woman, holding a glowing torch high in her hand. Silence falls over the entire ship. Then a small child's voice breaks the silence. "Mom, have we finally arrived?" And with that one innocent question, tears begin to flow from hundreds of eyes. It was never just a statue. It was the last hope of millions of broken dreams. It was a promise to those who had lost everything except hope. Today, the world knows it as the Statue of Liberty. But very few people know how many stories lie buried within its silent heart. How many tears? How many prayers? How many sacrifices? Even today, when the sun sets over New York Harbor, its golden light falls upon the Statue of Liberty as though time itself has stopped. Thousands of tourists take photographs. Yet very few realize that the very place where they stand was once the setting for the most emotional moment in the lives of millions of people. The moment when they saw freedom with their own eyes for the very first time. But the question is, why was this statue built? Was it merely a beautiful monument? Or was there a story behind it that changed the course of history? Why did France present this magnificent gift to the United States? And why are broken chains placed beneath its feet? Does the torch simply represent light? Or does it carry a message for all humanity? In today's documentary, we will not simply explore the history of a statue. We will uncover the stories of millions of people whose tears may still live on in the waves of this very ocean. This is not just the story of America. It is the story of hope. It is the story of courage. It is the story of dreams. And perhaps, it is your story too. Because at some point in life, every human being searches for a shore where they can find not only freedom, but also a new beginning. The screen slowly fades to black. The Statue of Liberty, silent guardian, living hope. And now, let us travel back nearly 150 years, to the moment when the very first chapter of this extraordinary story was being written. 19th century Europe. It was an era when life had become a punishment for countless people. Some had no bread to eat. Some had no home to live in. And some had no hope left for their children's future. Wars refused to end. Poverty knocked on every door. Deadly diseases wiped out entire families. Oppression had become so unbearable that people made the heartbreaking decision to leave the very homeland they loved. It was not an easy choice. Because when a person leaves home, they do not leave behind only a house. They leave behind their memories, their mother's prayers, their father's comforting shadow, and the fragrance of their childhood. A mother stood holding her little son's hand tightly. Her eyes were filled with tears. Yet she smiled, because she did not want her child to see her fear. An elderly man looked at the doorstep of his home one last time. He knew perhaps he would never return again. A young man picked up a handful of soil, kissed it gently, and quietly placed it inside his pocket. Because he wanted to carry the scent of his homeland wherever he went. Then they all walked toward the harbor. A massive ship stood waiting before them. But that ship was not merely a structure of wood and iron. It was a doorway standing between hope and fear. One by one, People climbed aboard. Some carried nothing but a small bag. Some had only a few pieces of clothing. And some possessed nothing except dreams. The sound of crashing waves and powerful winds fills the background. The journey began. The first day. Then the second. Then 1 week. And soon, many weeks had passed. Sometimes the sea was calm. And sometimes terrifying storms shook the ship with unbelievable force. Children clung tightly to their mothers. People whispered prayers. There were nights when everyone believed they might never live to see another sunrise. Food was running out. Fresh water was scarce. Diseases spread rapidly. Some passengers lost their lives before reaching their destination. Their loved ones, with silent tears in their eyes, entrusted them to the endless sea. And then, the ship continued its journey. Because those who were still alive had no choice but to keep moving forward. Yet every heart carried the very same question. Does such a place really exist beyond this ocean? Where a person is valued simply for being human? A place where children would never have to sleep hungry. Where hard work would be honored. Where hope would replace fear. They had no idea that in just a few more days, they would witness a sight that would change their lives forever. A sight so powerful that even the strongest among them could not hold back their tears. Weeks of sailing, hunger, thirst, storms, and with every passing day, hope grew weaker. Every soul aboard the ship carried only one question. Will we truly reach our destination alive? The long night finally came to an end. The first light of dawn appeared in the sky. The thick fog covering the sea slowly began to lift. Every pair of eyes was fixed on the horizon. Because the captain had said, "If fortune is on our side, today we shall see America." Silence spread across the ship. Only the sound of the waves remained. And the beating of hundreds of anxious hearts. Then suddenly, a little child shouted at the top of his lungs, "Look! There's something over there." Every eye turned in the same direction. Behind the fading mist, a hand appeared, holding a glowing torch. Then, slowly, the entire statue came into view. It was a moment that words could never truly describe. An elderly man fell to his knees. He looked toward the heavens and whispered, "My Lord, you have answered my prayer." A mother embraced her child tightly. Tears streamed down her face. But for the first time in years, they were tears of joy. Many people wept in silence. Some bowed their heads in prayer. Others simply stood there, staring at the statue, as if they were living inside a dream. It was not merely a statue made of copper. It was the first beacon of hope. It silently proclaimed to the world that darkness never lasts forever. That after every storm, there is always a shore waiting ahead. But did you know that the story of this magnificent monument is also filled with sacrifices? Just like the people who looked upon it with hope, its story did not begin in America. It began thousands of miles away, in France. In 1865, a French scholar named Edouard de Laboulaye dreamed of presenting a gift to the United States. A gift that would celebrate American freedom and the enduring friendship between France and America. A monument that would remind future generations of the priceless value of liberty. The responsibility for turning that dream into reality was entrusted to a young sculptor, Frederic Auguste Bartholdi. For years, he sketched designs. He worked through countless sleepless nights. And he imagined a majestic woman holding a torch high above her head. so that she would forever symbolize hope and light the way for humanity. But creating such a colossal monument was far from easy. There were challenges everywhere. Money was scarce. The project was enormous. Many people doubted that such a dream could ever become reality. Then another brilliant mind joined the project. His name was Gustav Eiffel, the same engineer who would later build the world-famous Eiffel Tower. Eiffel designed the statue's internal iron framework, strong enough to withstand powerful winds, heavy storms, and the relentless test of time. Years of tireless effort, thousands of skilled craftsmen, and countless sacrifices finally gave birth to this extraordinary masterpiece. But its journey was still far from over. The greatest challenge was yet to come. The enormous statue had to travel from France to the United States. It was carefully dismantled into hundreds of individual pieces, packed inside massive wooden crates, and loaded onto a cargo ship. No one knew whether such a long voyage across the Atlantic would end safely. But fortune smiled upon them. And at last, the day arrived when this magnificent gift reached New York Harbor. Thousands of people gathered along the waterfront. Every eye was fixed upon the sea, because they knew that it was not merely a statue arriving that day. Hope itself was entering their city. The day had finally arrived. The veil was lifted from this magnificent monument before thousands of people. The crowd erupted into applause. Joy echoed from every direction. Yet amid all the celebration, the statue stood in complete silence. Perhaps because some messages are not spoken with words. They are conveyed through silence. At first glance, it appears to be nothing more than a colossal monument. But if you look closely, every part of it tells a different story. Let us begin with the glowing torch held high in its hand. It is not merely a flame. It is the light of hope, lit for those who fought their way through darkness to reach a better life. It tells the world, even when the road is covered in darkness, a single ray of hope is enough to guide the way. Now look at the 7 rays upon its crown. Many people believe they are simply decorative. But the truth is far more meaningful. These 7 rays represent the 7 continents and the 7 seas. A reminder that freedom does not belong to one nation alone. It belongs to all humanity. Now turn your eyes to the tablet held in its left hand. Upon it is engraved a single date: July 4, 1776. The day the United States declared its independence. This tablet reminds the world that freedom is not merely a word. It is a blessing earned through sacrifice. And now, let us uncover the statue's quietest, yet most powerful secret. Beneath its feet lie broken chains. Most visitors never even notice them. Yet they carry the monument's deepest message. They symbolize the end of slavery, the defeat of oppression, and freedom from tyranny. As if the statue silently whispers to every generation. Human beings were born to live in freedom, not in chains. The years passed. Decades turned into centuries. The world changed. Governments rose and fell. History continued to unfold. But one thing never changed. This statue. It still stands. In the very same place. With the same dignity. The same unwavering silence. It witnessed the First World War. It witnessed the Second World War. It stood through economic crises. It watched over New York after the tragedy of September 11th. And it has also witnessed countless moments of joy and celebration. Through it all, it never lowered its torch. Because hope never bows its head. Even today, when evening falls, and the final golden rays of the sun touch its torch, it feels as though the statue is quietly telling the entire world, there will always be hardships, but the journey of light will never come to an end. But one question still remains. What became of the millions of people who saw this statue and began their new lives in America? Did their dreams come true? Or did their new homeland bring new struggles as well? In the final chapter, we will hear the true, emotional, and unforgettable stories of those people, and discover why the Statue of Liberty remains, even today, the brightest symbol of hope for millions around the world. Time never waits for anyone. Days turned into months. Months became years. And years became centuries. Yet this silent guardian, standing at the entrance of New York Harbor, remains exactly where it has always been. As though it was not placed there by time, but by history itself. It has watched millions of people arrive. Some carried nothing more than a small suitcase. Some held a newborn child in their arms. And some possessed only a single dream. A dream that one day their children would sleep in peace, instead of going to bed hungry. That one day they would not be judged because of their religion, their language, or their poverty. That one day their hard work would become their identity. Many of them succeeded. Some opened a small shop. Some began their journey as laborers. Some pursued an education. And others laid the foundation for a better future for the generations that followed. But none of it was easy. A new language, a new society, new laws, and new challenges waiting every single day. Yet, they never gave up. Because whenever they felt exhausted, they remembered that first morning, when, through the ocean fog, a glowing torch welcomed them and gave them hope once again. Today, millions of visitors from every corner of the world come here each year. They take photographs. They record videos. And then they leave. But very few pause for a moment to think about how many tears this place has witnessed, how many prayers it has heard, how many dreams were born here, and how many broken hearts found the strength to begin again. The Statue of Liberty is not merely a symbol of America. It is a symbol of human hope. It reminds us that no matter how difficult the journey may seem, no matter how dark the night becomes, no matter how fierce the storm may be, beyond the horizon, light is always waiting. Perhaps that is why millions of people who stand before this monument do not simply take a photograph. Deep within their hearts, they whisper a silent prayer that someday, a bright morning like this will also arrive in their own lives. Final message. If you ever visit New York and find yourself standing before the Statue of Liberty, do not admire only its height. Listen to its silence. For nearly 150 years, it has been telling the world the very same message. Never lose hope. Because in every person's life, there comes a day when the fog finally clears, and somewhere in the distance, a shining torch appears to guide the way. Final scene. The camera slowly pulls back. Gentle waves quietly kiss the shoreline. The Statue of Liberty stands silently beneath the golden light of the setting sun. And the narrator's final words echo softly. History is not written only in books. Some histories are carved into stone, and others live forever in the hearts of humanity. The Statue of Liberty is one of those living histories. Fade to black. The end. But the journey of hope never ends.